Hey, and welcome back to my channel. Today I thought I'd share with you a couple of first thoughts that I have about the curriculum that we will be using for history next school year and a little flip through. Hi, if you're new here, my name is Shardae. I'm a homeschool mom to 5 children. Their ages are 9, 6, 4, and then my twins are 16 months old. And I've had a little debacle with history. I haven't been teaching it because there's just certain things about it that make me uncomfortable, and I have to bite the bullet because my oldest is going into the 4th grade next year, and I pretty much had the philosophy that, in lower elementary, it's not needed, which is not. And now we've come to terms where we're at a point where she has to learn hard things and be able to contextualize information, use it, have her own thoughts and her own ideas. So with that being said, I wanted to share with you guys what we're using for history. And I guess I should maybe talk about where we are coming from. So we have been going through Amazing Africa. We're not quite done with it yet, but this is a good curriculum. The reason why I was hesitant to teach history was because my daughter, she did start out in public school and she had this idea that Black people were dirty. And so I needed this to show her that our culture, our people are not dirty, and that we come from an array of areas in Africa. And so I don't know what my heritage is in Africa, but I just wanted to expose her to different ways of living. And so we did a social studies on African people, which is our culture. So with that being said, I decided to go with History Odyssey Ancients Level 1 for next year. And the books that we're going to use with this are definitely more of what we would call living books. And so the books that we're going to use is A Child's History of the World, and this has a Audible version, and it's free from my library. So if your library is a part of Hoopla, then you can get the Audible for free on there. Our main spine will be The Story of the World. Okay, some people say this is secular, some people say it's not, because they talk about Jesus in here. To be honest, History Odyssey is a secular history curriculum, and they actually skip the parts that talk about Jesus. But we're a Christian household, so I will probably still listen to it and see what they're talking about. It calls for a children's dictionary. I know my kids could look it up online, but I wanted them to get into the habit of being able to look words up, because if you don't know what the internet is doing, I feel like the internet is only as smart as the person using it. So if they don't know how to use this, I mean, even though they can just type in a word, but I wanted them to have a hard copy of a dictionary. So I was excited that they actually pointed the kids towards a book. We're not a no technology home by any means, but when it's school time, we're not necessarily using them. They do use it for like ABC Mouse and different games. Here's an activity guide for ancient Israelites and their neighbors. Ancient Rome. And I think this is just a coloring book. History pockets. So if you are someone who has the history pockets and you're not sure what to do with them, here you go. Ancient Egyptians and their neighbors. The Usborne World History Encyclopedia. Draw and Write. Life in Ancient Greece. Another Draw and Write. And then I think that's it. And so I'm adding to it timelines from Black history And this actually starts with the beginning of time and then goes into early African kingdoms. Oh, sorry. Yeah, in ancient times. So I wanted to pair this along with what we're learning because I don't know how much of what we're going to learn deals with African history, leaders, legends, and legacy. So we'll look through that as we go through time. And then I saw this from Michelle G, Rethinking Columbus. It's not necessarily a whole curriculum, but it does give me some ideas of how to address that when it comes up, even if it comes up. And so I've already looked through the first part of it, which are elementary school issues, rethinking Thanksgiving, and people versus Columbus. And so I needed to read this to kind of give me like a idea of how to fix it. I have my ideas about how to fix it, but it gives me more language to address for my kids. I purchased all of these books used from Amazon. And then there's one more thing I probably will end up getting, which will be the timeline book, or maybe we'll make our own. But I figured if she does her own timeline book, she can have it, just use it over the years. I didn't want to do like a whole timeline for the family because the younger kids won't be able to, they won't have much to put on the timeline if we do it as a family. And plus we really don't have the space to do a huge timeline as a family. I would love to, but also just to get her thinking more critically. Like her timeline might look different than my son's, because if I'm reading them the same passage, he might think something's more important than what she thinks to put on the timeline. So I just figured they could do their own timeline. There are different levels in this, and I'm going to do it with her. So because this is level 1, but once we get to History Odyssey level 2, which will be, we'll move up in the level, which is medieval times. That one is more independent. So I'm looking forward to setting her free a little bit. But we're going to do this one together, and I'll do this with her. I'll continue the next level with her brothers and move her to level 2, which is just more living books. Okay, so my first thoughts about this. I like that she's going to be able to keep her own notebook, because you're going to need a notebook. Then you'll also have the history. We're also doing the history pockets, so you'll need something to go with that. And I'm probably just going to give her a 3-ring binder, because in the back we have a bunch of maps. I'll show you guys those. So here are the maps. Just a couple of the maps that we'll be going through. And so she can either have them cut them out into a spiral notebook, and I'll give her a 3-ring binder and make copies of them myself. They're for her. And so when we're talking about lessons, let's look at lesson 5. Okay, so it's going to tell you which pages to read in the Usborne book, which pages to read in the Story of the World, which I also bought the Audible version of that, just in case, like maybe one day I'll have to set Donovan, my 6-year-old, and my 9-year-old kind of like off and let me deal with the twins or something. So I got that as an escape route. And then there's also map work, history pocket work. And so this would be the main thing. And I just plan on doing 1 per day. So we might spend more than a week on it. Like this one would probably be 2 weeks, I would think. And then I don't have any, I don't think I have the time to do the additional activities, but you never know. And then I also like how there's an additional book list. Oh, something else that I'm going to use with this. I found a website that goes through the cycles of history with gentle and classical. Don't quote me on that. I think it's gentle and classical though. Hold on. Okay, sorry, my bad. The classical conversations cycles. And so what they do is, so there's 3 cycles in gentle and classical. So I figured I would just figure out where the cutoff is. But they take the who was books and they separate them by in order on how the child could read them according to history. And so one thing about this though is that I know someone had an issue with the way that it depicted Harriet Tubman. It said that she was a happy slave. So, I'm going to read them before I give them to my daughter. I don't know why I thought that was funny. Okay, so I'm going to read them before I give them to my daughter and just make sure that they are presenting things correctly. And you know what? Honestly, it wouldn't be a bad idea to even let her read the Harriet Tubman one and just have a discussion about the fallacies in that. And so I don't know. I think I might just let her read them all, and then we definitely make sure we address anything that's not correct, because ultimately I want her to have her own mind, and that's just where we are with our history curriculum. So yeah, if you have any experience with History Odyssey, let me know. I know that Pandia Press has come out with their own, which is History Quest. If you are having issues with history and trying to make a decision, please know that I feel you and I hear you, and I pray that God will lead you down the right path. And if you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. Think about subscribing to my channel, and don't forget to drink your water and repent. Bye.